Now that we have defined the process for simple employee, we can see two states participating in the process design. One is active, the other one is deactivated. So the employee record will be spread across two states, the active and the deactivated queue. So these lists can be viewed in a list view, and we call it as queue, and that can be configured according to the application style, and the fields has to be that needs to be displayed as part of the list is queue. So this is the default list view that's given as part of the application. So you need to modify or customize this according to the application. So if we see we have employee name, so I'll say employee name I need to display as part of the list view. And employee ID, and also designation and department, let's say. So let me choose the appropriate fields. Employee ID and employee name. So it's just like configuring the form design, and now you can change the style if you want to change. So I'm saying let me change it for this color. So this style needs to be applied according to the application theme that you are using. So right, we have now designed a list view as we design the form. Now let's consider that I need to identify whether an employee is active or inactive via a flag. See, for example, I have a flag called is active. I want this flag useful in the transactions where I'm using employee master for filtering active employee masters and inactive employee master. So this flag is by default false. So when an employee you are creating, this flag will be of false state, and once you submit the employee and when it goes to the active state, we want to update this flag to yes. So this can be done via an update action basically. So we are moving into the next perspective, which is action design. So here we'll create an action called update active. So there's a third, these are the default commands that's available as part of the studio. So right now I'm using only the update action. So it's just like writing an update command in SQL. Just you say update and which field you want to update and what is the value you want to update. So I'm saying I want to update to 1. And when actually the employee is getting deactivated, again this flag has to be set to 0. So I have an action called deactivate, and that will have 0 as the value. So we have created actions, but this has to be triggered when we create the employee and then move it to active. And from active, if we move it to deactivate, then at that point in time we need to call the deactivate action. So where to define the actions will be done in the action design, meaning how or what is the action designs action commands it needs to perform, all that you will design it in the action design, and where to call these actions will be defined in the process design. So as I said, from when you create the employee and when it moves to active state, you might need to call the action to update the flag to true. So there's a third parameter or third icon in the action design, which is action invoker. So if you go to the properties, it lists you all the actions that is available, so you can choose one of them, and when it goes to deactivate state, again you will call the deactivate action. So when the employee is created and moved to active, you will call an action which will update the employee as active. The same way, from active, if you move a record to deactivated state, you will call an action to deactivate, meaning to update the flag as deactivate. So now that we have created process, we have created some actions to update a flag. Now we are coming back to the form, and if you see in the form, you have all the fields are in place, the form is good looking, but something is missing which is the submit command or the submit button. Through the form, the record has to move from start to active and from active to deactivate. So if you see the process design, you have totally two different type of action. One is submitting, the other one is deactivating. So we'll have two sets of buttons to do that. So I'm saying so this is a default action for state transition. So we'll use this. Status is nothing but some success message you want to give to the user, you can give. And the other button is deactivate. This should match with the branch name that we have given in the process design. So we have totally two buttons. Now this deactivate button need not be shown when an employee is getting created. So we might need to hide this deactivate button when we actually create an employee, and once it reaches the active state, we might want to show this deactivate button. So I'm going to just give permissions for the individual states, which are all the buttons needs to be visible. So for the deactivate button, I'm giving hide by default, meaning if you give a default permission, this will be applied across all the process design activities, and for active alone I want this to be visible. And submit, it's default enabled, so it will be visible in all the activities. And for the deactivate, I want to hide this, meaning in the deactivated state I do not need this button. So now if you go so now if you take the preview, will show only the submit, because in the start you won't be able to see the deactivated one. And of course this employee ID and employee name will not be changed after the employee is moved to active state. Maybe the department designation and reporting to might change. So you might want to make this as read only in all the states except start, meaning only when you create an employee record you will be able to enter employee ID and employee name. So I'm making this default read only, and for initiating alone In the start activity alone, you will make it right only. So for individual fields you can give permissions like this, or for the entire grid you can give permission. So we have given permissions for all this. Now the form is done. Of course, we are done with creating a simple employee master by using all the 4 perspectives of OrangeScape Studio.